Howdy, everybody. Having a sense of meaning in our lives is essential, but it's often challenging to think in concrete terms about what is meaningful. In this video, I'm going to address some of the ways of thinking about meaning in our lives. In particular, some of those benefits and why pursuing meaning might ultimately be beneficial. The search for meaning is a primary force in the lives of all human beings. Without a sense of meaning, we might feel aimless, unmoored, or even hopeless. The meaning that we seek in our lives is unique to us as individuals. It's specific to our own unique identity, culture, location, abilities, and even the time in which we live. And so, too, this meaning can only be fulfilled by ourselves and ourselves alone, in the sense that no one else exists in the world who can fulfill our own particular meaning. Now, this meaning is not something that we just invent for ourselves or is handed to us by society. I'm not going to be able to watch a video and someone tell me what's meaningful in my life. Instead, it's something that needs to be, as some theorists have referred to it as, detected and then brought into full expression in our lives. Now, one of the difficulties with detecting meaning in our lives is that the society in which we live has created a sense of wanting or needing certain values and priorities that are thrust upon us that are reflective of a capitalist and consumerist society. Now, there's nothing wrong with capitalism or consuming goods. We need to eat in order to survive. But when it starts to influence our sense of meaning or purpose, difficulties can start to emerge. So it's really important that we differentiate those societal forces from our own individual meaning, which really can be quite a Herculean task. And I hope to address a little bit about how to go about this work. Now, much of what I present here will be based on the work of Viktor Frankl and logotherapy. However, as with everything, we take it through our own internal experience and we start to talk about it using our own language. And so while I want to cite the source of this inspiration, it's also important for me to note that I do not speak for Frankl, nor do I speak for logotherapy. However, if you are interested, I encourage you to explore that work more. While having a sense of meaning in our life seems maybe intuitively positive, it's important to acknowledge that there are some specific benefits. A sense of meaning in our lives is invaluable, and we can survive difficulties and challenges if we have a sense of meaning. As Nietzsche noted, we can live with any how if we have a why. If there's something that we feel like we need to do, or a meaning that we need to fulfill, we are then able to tolerate all sorts of hardships that can emerge in our lives. Meaning can give us direction, something to strive for, something that shapes how we spend our time, how we invest our time in this one and only life that we live. We are most fully ourselves and most fully embody the uniqueness of being human when we are actively dedicating ourselves to a meaningful pursuit. Finally, it also enhances our physical, mental, and emotional well-being to pursue meaning that is deeply embedded in the essence of our existence. Now, while the pursuit of meaning might be very personal and individualized, it's typically not something that is internally fulfilled in our own emotional or psychic space. In other words, meaning is often outside of ourselves, or rather, meaning is fulfilled outside of ourselves. It's reaching outside beyond our own internal psyche out into the world. It needs to come in contact with the lived experience. It's something that we fulfill through encountering or connecting with another person. This requires us to experience something external to ourselves, to be in the world with our meaning. Now, I hope that we all want to be our fullest and most actualized selves, but we cannot do that by just focusing on ourselves. It is only through the pursuit of meaning that we truly find ourselves in the extent of our ability to turn potential into action. In essence, it is the work that we do in the world that ultimately helps us to facilitate the emergence of a more genuine expression of our full personhood. Now, when we experience a pull or a will towards meaning, it can create a sense of tension. And wherever there's tension, there's energy building. And that tension exists between what we have achieved or what we are capable of achieving in our pursuits and what we still have yet to do to get to that meaningful end. This tension creates a pulling forward, a willing towards meaning. So, for example, if we have not begun our work towards that meaning, then we're all potential. We're just filled with the energy and tension of potential that builds to the point where it can overwhelm us. And we know we must begin in even small ways, that we have to take a step forward. Because meaning is so important to the human experience, to the actualization of the self, and living a full life. And because tension is a vital aspect of the pursuit of meaning, that tension between what we're working towards and where we are now, we can therefore not live our lives in a tensionless state of being. To live without tension is to live without the necessary catalyst to drive, to pursue, to will towards the fulfillment of our purpose. And within that tension is a question. And we constantly experience this, moment to moment, subtle though it may be, is a question about meaning. Because meanings can evolve and shift over time. We're asked by a person, a situation, an experience. Essentially, life asks us, what is the meaning? What is the meaning that we are pursuing? And it requires an answer. It requires an answer from us, not something that we make up, not something that society gives us, but something that is internally derived. If I make something up, or if society tells me what my meaning is, neither of those satisfy this tension. Neither one of them meet the challenge of the moment because they're not answers that are truly from the person who is being asked. If I make it up, it's not really coming from me. And if I'm given an answer, that's not really coming from me either. Instead, we actively need to do the work to seek out, discover, and detect the answer in a concerted and conscious manner. And unfortunately, the fact is that we don't ever fully know whether or not our answer to the meaning, is the right one. And in many ways, that's inconsequential. The possibility of being wrong does not free us from the responsibility of having to provide an answer, of having to follow that calling, of having to do the work. As I mentioned before, the answer to that question that we are posed will be as unique as each of us. A unique meaning for a unique situation embodied by a unique individual. These meanings will differ between people and also across the course of our lives. Even down to the present moment, a meaning may shift, alter, or emerge at any time. While these changes around meaning may occur at any point in our lives, the pursuit of an answer never ends. It's always asked of us from birth to death, and we are perpetually called to seek out and detect that answer. However, not all meaning is valid, which may seem like a bold statement after I spend a couple of minutes promoting the uniqueness of meaning for each individual. Our pursuit of meaning may be bad or incorrect if it gets in the way of someone else's pursuit of meaning. This may seem initially limiting, but it also provides us with some guidance about where to invest, about what to explore. For example, we cannot force someone to love us, nor can we go out and kill someone, or kill ourselves for that matter. Each of these things would interfere with the pursuit of meaning. On the other side, the signs of the accuracy or validity of our answer to the question about meaning and the path that we're using to express that meaning are not always easy to find. Again, our society often measures the worth of a pursuit by different standards. Thinking about how so often we see success as being money or fame. However, this type of success may or may not emerge as a result of our pursuit of meaning. This doesn't negate the answer that we have to that question about meaning in life. If this type of success around money and fame doesn't accompany our purposeful work, it can instead be the attitude that we take towards that can enhance our meaning. This starts to get to the heart of things because we're expanding to think about two intersecting concepts: the pursuit of meaning and success. And so this is something I hope we can try on here and explore how this is present in our own lives. When we examine the intersection of meaning and success as measured by our society, we can observe four possible outcomes. What I'd like you to do is to try these on for fit. Bear with me for a moment. So in that first iteration of thinking about pursuing meaning and meaning with success, in that case, we're following a calling. We're trying to fulfill our purpose, and we take these steps to fulfill our unique meaning. This work then brings the trappings of societal success. We make money, we receive admiration from others, maybe even power and influence. These elements of success are really secondary to the purpose of the pursuit. The second interaction is between meaning and what we would think of as being failure. This is when we follow our calling, our sense of purpose. We take steps to fulfill our meaning, but it doesn't bring those kind of standards of success. We don't make a lot of money. We're not famous. Nobody really notices the work that we're doing. Yet we live out our purpose in this life, irrespective of whether it brings success. Already we can see from these two permutations of this interaction that there is still a sense of being connected to something meaningful, no matter what, which gives a sense of purpose. By contrast, the next two interactions are going to be between meaningless pursuits and how they intersect with success. So when we look at meaninglessness and success, this would be an example of when we do the things that we think are going to lead to success. Maybe we follow the values and priorities of our larger society. Maybe someone tells us, do this particular job because you're going to make a lot of money. We might have wealth, power, and admiration from others, but we're not really certain what to do with it because it's purposeless. And finally, we have meaninglessness and failure. This is when we do the things that we think are going to lead to success. Again, maybe following the instructions or standards from others. And this work that we take on, it doesn't really mean anything to us. And we've achieved none of the wealth, power, admiration that we thought would come from that. And so it all feels purposeless, pointless. So again, it's notable that these four interactions all result in something different. But when we put meaning as a part of that, as a central element, the result of purpose is something that money cannot buy for us. Now let's turn this towards ourselves and take a moment to pause and engage in an imaginal experiment. As Frankl suggested in his logo drama, let's put ourselves into a fictional future to consider where we are now and what steps we want to take forward. So let's imagine that we are on our deathbeds and we're looking back on our lives. And as we look back, what thoughts, feelings, sensations emerge? We'll just try to notice those. And imagine that we're dying, looking back on our lives, thinking about these elements of meaning and success. Certainly success sounds great, but as we lay there taking stock of our lives, we note the ways in which we've lived a meaningful life, where we've actively pursued living out our purpose, even if it was difficult. As we put ourselves into that space, notice what are the things that come to you as a priority. Looking back and noticing right now, are you pursuing things that will bring success, or are you pursuing things that will bring meaning? Maybe we see in that space that we didn't make a lot of money, but maybe we created something, provided something for others. Maybe it didn't make us famous or wealthy, but Regardless, we die without money. Notice how that makes you feel. And let's shift this a little bit. Maybe looking back on our lives that don't really have meaning, but we've achieved all the measures of our societal success. We're still dying in spite of all this money. And so too, if we were looking back and we had not pursued meaning and we didn't have that societal success, we didn't have fame and money, ultimately we're working towards is a reframing of the present moment. Death will happen for all of us. The question becomes, what are we pursuing now that has real, genuine value? What do we value? How do we value? And how can we bring that more fully into our lives? This is the true, genuine work of being alive. And so I challenge you to engage in this imaginal experience, to look back at your life as if you were dying, to notice those things that you would like to see yourself doing, those things that you would like to pursue, those things that are brought into the world that go beyond money, fame, power. That is a genuine, unique expression of yourself. And as you notice those things start to come out, I encourage you to pause, sit down with a pencil and a piece of paper, and write out some of those things that are coming up for you. And in that way, you might start detecting what's most essential and start bringing out the true work of your life. Thanks so much.